So the objective of this video is to walk you through how we plan our route in CalTopo. And so I'm just going to do it in real time based on the information you see here. And we'll go over the details in the online session during the class. But just want to go through it real quick and show you how easy it is to plan these routes. So what we're looking at here is the anticipate the hazard information I took right out of my field book. And whatever shorthand works for you, you'll develop over time, but it'll make sense to you. So what I have here is the A Basin weather station. We have a current of 10. This is at 6 a.m. when I wrote it down. Current of 10, high of 18, low of 9 degrees. And these are in Fahrenheit. 87% relative humidity. Wind was out of the southeast at 14 miles per hour, gusting to 20 miles per hour. Our forecast for the location where we're headed today is 15 to 20 degrees, winds west at 20 miles per hour, gusting to 30. The sky will be scattered, so in and out, cloudiness, partly cloudy, and expected snow 0 to 1 inches in the afternoon. Sometimes I'll write a little PM right here. This PM is the evening forecast, so we're looking at 10 degrees and then a low of 5 degrees. This will be the low. West winds 10, gusting to 20 miles per hour tonight. So now I've moved down to the CAIC Advisory, and this is my shorthand for that page. So we have below tree line moderate, near tree line moderate, and above tree line moderate rating. But as we know now, we have to associate that with a problem or a multitude of problems. So this is for persistent slab on west through northeast through southeast aspects at all elevations. And they are possible as far as likelihood, and for consequences, they are small to large. Our next problem then is wind slabs on northeast through east through south aspects, near tree line and above tree line, and also possible small to large in size. So for our trends, yesterday the rating was at considerable. Today they lowered it to moderate, but that's based on their other discussion. I didn't really write that in here. But based on that discussion, they lowered it back to moderate for the same problems. However, the key message for the advisory is what we really want. So we want to avoid wind-loaded east through southeast slopes. Small avalanches can step down to persistent weak layers and be large. So they also want us to avoid steep open slopes near glades. If I had time, I probably would have written some more here, just based on snowpack data. But in the summary, they talked about basically the exact same thing. The persistent weak layer, a foot or so down, and then these wind-loaded slopes. But the key message here is to avoid those wind-loaded slopes, and that's how we're going to arrange our trip plan. And we're going to do that here shortly. Here we are at caltopo.com. I've already logged in. I'm going to set up an account so I can save and print some maps. And I've already typed in where I want to go right here in this screen to Montezuma, Colorado. So the objective here is just to show you how quick and easy this really can be. You can almost do it in the morning with a computer while you're having breakfast with your touring group. But we're going to be up in this zone here, and based on the forecast I just showed you, we're going to pick a place to go on a tour and maybe get some turns in given the conditions. So what I like to do is just adjust some different layers. I am in preference to this little setup here just because I like the way it looks and it sort of makes sense. So just using some tools through here. We'll go over these in detail when we get into the lecture. So going in here, we want to set our trailhead. And I'm going to put it right here just to make sure. I may, I'll put up the satellite here in a second, but right now I want to get all my markers on here. So I'm going to label this trailhead, parking lot. And then from here I want to set an objective. And again, given the conditions, I already have a zone picked out that I think will will treat us pretty good. I know it's holding some snow, and not too exposed, and so I hope we can get some low angle turns in. So from here I'll reduce this enhanced. Want to make sure I get it right. I'll go down here to some satellite layers, and so this is the area right here I'm thinking about. Pull up the slope shading so I make sure I don't get myself into an area that's exposed based on the conditions. This is a cliff band right here that gets wind hammered and doesn't hold very much snow. I know that from experience. And there's some snow sitting in these glades right here. They're low angle and they're not too exposed from this ridge. So that's what I'm thinking about. So I want to put a zone in here that this is going to be our potential skiing area. Just going to draw this as a basic zone. We could expand it if we wanted to, but just for the sake of getting going, for getting a place to start, I'm going to label it green. And I'm going to call it open. So I'll have something to offer my friends when I show them the map and say, hey, what do you guys think about this area right here? Might even want to label some nice shots in there. Say, yeah, this is a good one here. And since this is going to be pretty much open terrain, I'm going to color that one green as well. And we'll just call it Glade 1. So pretty good shot right there we can get to without too much trouble. And so this is how you can assemble a run list. You can make a polygon for an open area, and you can make actually draw lines for the specific runs through the trees if you're interested in it. So one thing we may want to do, again, just for communication purposes, is consider for discussion areas, we know for sure that our problem and our snowfall is going to be in a certain area. And so one thing we may want to do, again, just for communication purposes, is you can do something like this. And just close it off. So there's no doubts that when we're looking for a consensus, maybe someone wants to say, I don't know, man, that couloir looks pretty good over there. We can just say, I don't know, I was thinking about closing this off for today and holding on to it for another day. One thing we can do on this tour is go in here and check it out, see what these cornices look like, see, snow coverage, if there's any natural activity, etc. But today I just want to get some exercise and get some short runs in, and we can set a skin track and do some laps right in here. So now we just need to draw our route in. So just going to go ahead and do a marker. Now there's a road that's there, but I know that that road is on the other side of the creek a little bit, and I really have no problem just setting a skin track in there. Maybe get on the road a little bit, but when we get right here, I don't see any issues. Maybe we want to veer to this side, and I got an idea for that zone here in a minute. But we'll keep on going. Work our way up out into the meadow here so we can get a good idea of what we're looking at. And I'll show you how we're manipulating this trackpad and the mouse and stuff. So we may not want to go right across this road right here because we're going to be cutting off our track. So it may be worthwhile for us to just kind of work our way up in here to the trees and then get into this opening right here. And that is pretty realistic, actually. So let's zoom in, see how I did on the track. And I don't see a little bit of a kind of a cliff band, some features here that I was aware of, but it looks like we could probably navigate that and talk through it. So once we end up right up here, as we pop out of the trees, we may want to evaluate what kind of snow is sitting here. But again, I think this upper cliff band usually is quite wind hammered and is not much of an issue. So there's our route. The only part of it that I thought might have some exposure to it while I was drawing that map is this area right here. So I think what we should do is plan a decision point. I might put it right over in here in this meadow just so we can get a look at that and plan a decision point ahead of time. We want to assess that northeast wall right there. See if we want to get under it. And that would be the one thing I would plan. So this might be my one concern, just to see what's happening in this zone right here. So a planned decision point before we head up into the higher up into this drainage. Now, is there an alternate route? Looks like if we don't like that meadow, there's some old growth trees over here. I think that we can easily discern that there has not been any avalanche activity, even historic avalanche activity over here in these old growth trees. So if we don't like this meadow right here, we're afraid we might get into some trouble. No problem in calling an audible right here and just working our way through the trees and popping out right here. So might even just draw an alternate line right there as a suggestion so that we can discuss it later. Doesn't look to be too steep, and I'll just label that. And I'll alternate. Not so much because it's dangerous, it's probably our easy way out. So I might just make it green and then call it good. And then this one right here. Oops, I lost. There it is. I'll just label it main, depending on DP. So I'm going to make it green as well, but with the understanding that we got a planned decision point right there. Not too concerned about that cliff band, but we may just want to take a look at it anyway. Natural activity, since they dropped it down to moderate, natural activity has waned a bit, and they did drop it from considerable to moderate, but the human-triggered avalanche is still a factor. So that's pretty much our route. I think that looks pretty good. We've got a closed zone here. We've got our open zone here with a run. We could make some more runs in there if we wanted to, but this is a nice area. We can just set a skin track and lap our way around in here for the day, get some exercise, and then head back out. So as far as drawing the CalTopo map, that's basically all there is to it. Now we can't print with satellite view. Really, it doesn't work that well. So what I like to do is just go back to this Forest Service topo, get this enhancement back up. It's a little easier on the printer, a little less data. And so now what I want to do is I want to print this up and get it in a format that allows me to transfer it. So first I want to save it to my account. Choose map name, Deer Creek. No, we'll go with Deer Creek instead. And I can share my map, I can make it private URL or just make it public for people to see. So I want to share it with whoever. I'm not protecting anything here, so I want to share it with everybody. And now it's been saved to my account, and so the next thing to do then is get it printed up. So I'll go up here to print to PDF or JPEG. It's going to give me another screen. Sometimes it takes it a little bit for these things to dry out. So this dot right here in the center of this square is how I can manipulate this square. I'm going to use these arrows to move it out if I want to. What we want to do is we want to leave it in a geospatial PDF. That way it transfers into our phone and we can overlay it with GPS coordinates. We can put some grid lines on it if we want to. That chews up a little bit of the border, but let's put it on there because I kind of like to have that for reference, being a snow geek. And then we want to set it at, it's not a fixed scale, but we want to go 1:24. If we make this a 1:24 and print it out, it becomes a navigable map. We can lay a compass on it, and we can use 1:24 mileage estimates and slope angle lines. And we'll go over more about that in the class. So, all right, so let me double check everything. It's positioned where I want it. One of the things about positioning the map, if it is a navigable map, we want to also have some points of reference that we can use. If actual visibility gets a little sketchy, we want to be able to have maybe a couple of peaks or a ridge line on our map that we can use to cross-reference our position. Here's a peak here, here's a point here. That's on the map. I like that. And I think we can position it in portrait or landscape. I'm going with the portrait, I like that better. Got to recenter this thing, put it back, and away we go. So we generate the PDF, and it might take it a minute for this to take place, but while that's doing that, I will tell you, you can save this as on your desktop or anywhere on your laptop, and when you print it out, you do not want to scale to fit. You want to print it out in actual size, and that'll maintain all of the navigational properties of this map. You'll see it's scaled down here. 1 inch equals 2,000 feet. This mileage scale is navigable, and you can lay a compass on this thing and actually use it. So from here, real quick, we're going to use this QR code, and if you read through the assets page, you saw that QR code and maybe scanned it into your Avenza if you have it already. But from here on out, all I'm going to do is show you guys how to use the Avenza and get this thing on your telephone. So, okay, so I'm going to open the Avenza app, and it's going to bring me to the kind of their home page. This is the My Maps page. Underneath the battery percentage, next to edit, there's a plus sign. So I'm going to hit that plus sign, and that'll take me into the import map page. So some options here, but we're going to use the QR code icon up underneath the battery percentage again, upper right hand corner. A little bit different probably on Androids or whatever, but the icons are there. So that opens my camera, brings me the QR reader. So I'm pointing it at the screen on my laptop or my computer. Hit that QR code and it instantly starts downloading the map. So pretty slick. Doesn't take very long. So I'm going to open it, hit the information icon under the battery percentage again. Gives me an information page. So I'm just going to rename it so I can recognize it later. And now I'm in the map. So this is great. Once we get to the trailhead, we can open this menu here. Open the tracking feature, start tracking, and we don't need cell service for this. The GPS in the phone will work without service. So what it'll do is it'll overlay our progress on this map. It'll show us our position, it'll show us our route, and it'll overlay the actual route, and we can compare it to our planned route. And then once we get back to the trailhead, after it records everything that we do during the day, we can stop the tracking feature, and then it'll run a report for us and show us our elevation, total distance, and total time. And it'll be saved on this map as long as we keep it in our phone, so we can use it for a reference later. But essentially that's it. Very simple, really slick. Looking forward to showing you more features when we get into the field. So if you could come with this app pre-loaded into your phones. It'll save us some time. And there's some other stuff on here too we can show you. So looking forward to seeing you in the course, and let's have some fun.